Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel Bachelor Nation Official. The Bachelor Nation fans are comparing Joey Graziadei and Jenn Tran as they navigate difficult conversations. In a recent controversial Reddit post, a viewer said they believed that on his season of The Bachelor, Graziadei did a better job at coming across as sincere when suitors would tell him their deepest, darkest troubles. On the other hand, they called Tran's reaction to being opened up to by her contenders as cringy. Some people agreed with the assessment, calling Graziadei emotionally mature for his age. I think it will be a miracle if we ever get any lead, male or female, to live up to Joey's way of handling things, one user wrote. However, many fans deemed the comparison as unfair, pointing out the different standards that men and women are held to when it comes to having emotional intelligence. I'm tired of praising white men for doing the most basic human-level thing. The bar is in hell when we compare him to other bachelors, one user complained. Meanwhile, others came to Tran's defense, saying that she was actually using active listening skills with her responses. I think Jenn does a really good job of relating to the stories and expressing empathy. She's also using reiteration and verbal cues to encourage the men as they're talking, someone wrote. I think Jenn does a good job of being empathetic, even with men she's not super interested in. She's good at active listening and matching the energy of the conversations. Sometimes people just want you to listen. Sometimes people want you to share a story and reciprocate. I think she's done a good job of reading the tenor of the conversations, elaborated another fan. One other user compared Graziadei to a robot, saying he seemed like he was falling asleep half the episodes during his season. Joey just blankly staring with kind eyes, just because he's a white attractive male, is good enough apparently and makes them so much more empathetic. Another user agreed. Joey reacted the same to everyone and said the same comforting stuff that's applicable to every situation, chimed in another. The world of reality television, especially within the Bachelor franchise, is known for sparking heated discussions and polarizing opinions. Every season, the leading figures, whether bachelors, bachelorettes, or their contestants, are put under the microscope, with fans and critics alike dissecting their every move. Recently, two central figures of the franchise, Joey Graziadei and Jenn Tran, have found themselves at the center of an intense debate about emotional intelligence, sincerity, and gender expectations. This conversation reached a peak after a Reddit post comparing how Graziadei, the most recent Bachelor, and Tran, the newest Bachelorette, handled emotional conversations with their respective suitors. While Graziadei has been praised for his calm and composed demeanor when addressing his contestants' emotions, Tran has faced backlash, with some viewers labeling her reactions as cringeworthy. However, the conversation goes much deeper, reflecting the complex interplay of gender, emotional expectations, and how the audience views their favorite reality stars. Let's dive into this story and explore how Graziadei and Tran are being compared, the controversy surrounding them, and why some fans feel the backlash against Tran is both unwarranted and deeply rooted in societal double standards. Joey Graziadei's time as The Bachelor was marked by his ability to stay calm, cool, and collected, even when faced with emotional revelations from his contestants. Many viewers praised his emotional maturity, with one fan on Reddit stating, I think it will be a miracle if we ever get any lead, male or female, to live up to Joey's way of handling things. Graziadei seemed to have a formulaic way of comforting the women, listening attentively with his trademark empathetic gaze, and giving responses that resonated with his audience. On the flip side, Jenn Tran's approach as the Bachelorette has been met with mixed reactions. A vocal segment of fans labeled her behavior as cringy, arguing that her reactions felt awkward or overly rehearsed when contestants shared their vulnerabilities. One Reddit post sparked a firestorm of commentary, with some users claiming that Tran's responses to emotional moments felt forced and lacked the depth that Graziadei seemed to exude. However, not all fans agreed with this sentiment. Some believed that Tran's reactions were a reflection of her empathy and attentiveness. "I think Jenn does a good job of being empathetic even with men she's not super interested in," one fan commented. "She's good at active listening and matching the energy of the conversations. Sometimes people just want you to listen, and sometimes they want you to share a story and reciprocate." This user argued that Tran was doing a commendable job at reading the room and tailoring her responses accordingly. The stark contrast in how Graziadei and Tran have been perceived has ignited a larger conversation about gender and emotional intelligence. Some fans have argued that the praise for Graziadei's emotional responses is part of a larger issue of holding men to a lower emotional standard than women. In other words, when men like Graziadei show even the most basic level of empathy or compassion, they are lauded as emotionally mature. But when women like Tran display similar traits, they are held to a higher, often unattainable standard. One fan voiced their frustration on Reddit, writing, "I'm tired of praising white men for doing the most basic human-level thing. The bar is in hell when we compare him to other bachelors." This comment encapsulates a growing frustration with how society often celebrates men for qualities that women are expected to possess without question. When a male lead on a reality show exhibits kindness, he is viewed as exceptional. However, when a female lead shows compassion, she is subjected to intense scrutiny about how she should be acting or feeling. This argument was echoed by others who felt that Graziadei's emotional intelligence was being overestimated simply because he fit a certain mold, the kind, handsome, and composed white male lead. Joey reacted the same to everyone and said the same comforting stuff that's applicable to every situation, one user chimed in. Another added, "Joey just blankly staring with kind eyes just because he's a white attractive male is good enough apparently, and makes them so much more empathetic." On the other hand, Tran, as a female lead, is held to a different set of expectations. Women on reality shows, especially those in the spotlight like The Bachelorette, are often expected to be warm, relatable, and emotionally expressive, but not too expressive, or they risk being labeled as over the top. This delicate balancing act, where women are expected to be perfectly in tune with their emotions, while also being palatable to the audience, sets them up for inevitable criticism. As Jenn Tran continues her journey on The Bachelorette, her approach to emotional conversations has become one of the key talking points. Some fans have come to her defense, pointing out that Tran's style of communication isn't about grand emotional outbursts, but rather active listening. This subtle form of empathy, where the listener provides space for the speaker to share without immediately offering solutions or personal anecdotes, is often underappreciated in environments like reality TV, where dramatic reactions tend to steal the spotlight. I think Jenn does a really good job of relating to the stories and expressing empathy. She's also using reiteration and verbal cues to encourage the men as they're talking, one fan argued. In this perspective, Tran's ability to quietly absorb and process what her suitors are saying shows a level of emotional intelligence that's harder to detect but just as valuable. Others have pointed out that while Tran may not always offer sweeping emotional responses, she is actually mirroring the energy of her contestants. This skill, known as emotional matching, is a crucial component of successful interpersonal communication. I think she's done a good job of reading the tenor of the conversations, another fan elaborated. Sometimes people just want you to listen. Sometimes people want you to share a story and reciprocate. By reading the room and adapting her responses accordingly, Tran demonstrates a different, but no less valid, form of empathy. Interestingly, while Graziadei has largely been praised for his handling of emotional situations, there's also been a contingent of viewers who felt that his responses were too measured, almost robotic. He seemed like he was falling asleep half the episodes, one fan joked. Others pointed out that his calm demeanor, while praised by some, could also come across as emotionally detached. Joey just blankly staring with kind eyes isn't enough for me, one user wrote. It's like he's going through the motions and repeating the same lines over and over. It's not real empathy, it's just surface-level comfort. This criticism highlights the fine line that reality TV stars must walk between showing empathy and coming off as inauthentic. As this debate rages on, it's clear that the expectations placed on reality TV stars, particularly those in the Bachelor franchise, are heavily influenced by societal norms around gender and emotional expression. Joey Graziadei and Jenn Tran represent two different ends of the spectrum when it comes to handling emotional situations, and the reactions to their respective approaches reveal much about the audience's biases and expectations.